The Truth Girls.
Hi everyone, Truth the Girl Sonia here. Well, I'd like to talk about a story that came up a few days ago that was quite disturbing and that relates actually to some experience that I've personally had. Secret facilities in Tennessee closed after police find patients held against their will. Now, right under the photo, here is an editor's note. This article has been edited and amended to reflect that the facilities in question were in no way affiliated with the Church of Scientology. So, why are they saying it's not related to Scientology? Well, if you look at all the other postings about this story, all the other articles, you'll surely notice that all the articles on this story have in their headlines a reference to this being related to Scientology. There is a connection to Scientology, although it is not a Scientology facility, but I will explain. So let's look at the original article. Cannon Rehab Facilities closed. And it was in this article they mentioned the Cannon County Sheriff's Department would like to make the general public of this county aware that the Scientology facilities are closed and not operating in Cannon County. And I want to point out, see, a little change in grammar makes a really big difference. The use of the word the Scientology facilities kind of implies that people know about it. Already at the time, people knew that this was somehow connected to Scientology. And actually, looking around online, I found a lot of evidence of this. This is going back years. There's some organizations that track cults and Scientology, and they were aware of these facilities and their connection to Scientology. So, why then does attorney David Vail, representing some of the individuals involved in the case, say the facilities were not operated by the Church of Scientology? There were 3 people who were arrested: Dennis Flamand, Hans Snyder Lytle, and a guy called Mark Valliere. This is probably the most important guy in the case. And Mark Valliere had become a Scientologist back in the 80s, and it's like this completely changed his life. His whole life revolved around it. And he opened these facilities using the Scientology Narconon philosophy, but they were not owned or operated by the Scientology Church itself. This guy, Mark Valliere, was an entrepreneur. This was his private business. So that's probably why there's the mention of Scientology, although the denial that it's part of the Scientology establishment. So what exactly happened here? A 911 emergency phone call came from inside and from one of the people who was being held there. He somehow got hold of a phone, and they came in and they found him locked inside the cabin with no way to remove himself from the building. The cabin is bare. There is a small pile of sheets in the corner. There are no obvious amenities for life. The man being held there tells the officers he's being held against his will and is given unknown medications. He explains that he is there to have rehab and get cleansed through Scientology. He states that he has been there for 9 months and is being mistreated and falsely imprisoned, and all he wants to do is go home. So I think there were 3 people that were being held in this facility, and the county sheriff department released them and told the people who were keeping them there that they had no right to do this, as they were not a healthcare facility and they did not have power of attorney over these people. Here's another article that goes a little bit more into detail about what came of this. Mentally handicapped victim kept padlock in room. So the outcome of this, well, the facility was shut down and all 3 men were sentenced to unsupervised probation for 11 months and 29 days. The court also ruled that Valliere cannot operate any facility or residence in the county. Well, I'm pretty sure that's not going to put this guy out of business, unfortunately. Let me tell you about Mark Valliere. What he has is he's running these treatment centers, not one, but several of them. Oh, they have Centro Medico, a Wave of Hope, which is in the Dominican Republic. So you can be pretty sure he's not going to volunteer to close that facility down. And they had Life Center for a New Tomorrow and Gateway to Freedom. Wow, talk about an ironic name. They say, we are people who have come to question the psychiatric profession, and basically they say they're offering some alternatives. And they do say, try for a while to tell people that you have found a way to treat a mental patient without the use of psychiatric treatments or psychiatric drugs, and watch the police or FBI knocking down your door and hauling you in jail. Well, if your treatment involves felony kidnapping and false imprisonment, then yeah, you could go to jail. And this isn't the first time that Valliere and his centers have had trouble with the law. From 2014, state cites Woodbury Living Center for license violations. So, you know, the treatment that these people were getting there was pretty horrible. It's kind of shocking that someone could operate this kind of a facility, and how could it actually have any clients? I mean, how do people end up there? Well, here it says the victim's mother was in disbelief as to where her son ended up, as in she sent him somewhere to get help, but she had no idea what it was going to be like when he actually got there. So if people don't really know what's on the other end, why are they sending their kids to these places? You know, if you look at the website, they make it look okay. Well, this is a stock photo, but it looks clean, people in nice nurses' uniforms. You know, of course, it has nothing to do with the actual center. So look, the thing is, what this comes down to is these are treatment centers that parents are seeking for their children who either have drug problems or severe behavioral problems or some kind of disability. It's actually not just the domain of anything to do with Scientology. If you do like a quick Google search of kidnapped to rehab, you'll see that lots of people have had this experience. Sometimes it's in America, sometimes they're sent to somewhere in the Caribbean, sometimes it's related to a religion, sometimes not. There was a person who was sent to some kind of a Mormon program. And there's actually an article here on Vice about the legal industry for kidnapping teens. What you're going to find if you read this article is that the parents have their children sort of abducted and brought to these facilities. And having this done is not illegal. I have some experience with being kept in one of these kind of facilities, actually for 3.5 years. Not a rehab, and it wasn't like a little cabin in the woods, but it was one of these therapeutic schools. And to make a long story short, there was a lot of abuse there, and the place wasn't really accredited to be doing at all what they were doing. And a lot of us, when we came out, well, I think I could probably safely say that all of us came out of there with some degree of PTSD. And I would say from my experience that being there was not helpful. Not helpful, and in the case of many people, I'll say probably myself included, when they came out, they were worse off. So here's what this is about. This is about this underground industry, which is apparently legal, for parents to have their children abducted and brought to these facilities where they are then held, and really they are not having their rights respected. I think some people are just sort of cut out to be like cult leaders, and if they're not leading an actual cult, they can do something like lead an alternative therapy or a rehab. They develop a method that they convince everyone this is the thing that's going to save you or it's going to save your kids. And they tend to be people who have a lot of charisma, like the charismatic cult leader. And that desperate parents will put their faith in these people. And that is what is really happening. But moreover, the fact that this industry exists shows that there is a big need for more support, more help for people, for families, and for the children in these families who are dealing with these kind of problems. So they can tell Mark Valliere he can't operate in that county, but you can be sure that as long as there is a demand, he will provide a supply. He's going to move shop somewhere else. And this kind of thing is going to continue until the need is reduced because there are other options or some laws are passed to make this illegal. So that's pretty much what happened here. So thank you for listening, and thank you for liking and sharing this video. Try to get the word out. These places exist, and they're not good. This shouldn't be happening. So thank you, and I'll see you next time.